Welcome to Film Study, an all American podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, rate the podcast 5 stars, all of that good stuff. Here is the second part to Chanel and I talking about the season 5 premiere of All American. Hope that you dig it. Let's get into it.
Hmm.
Speaking of being a support system for Simone, um, I'm trying to figure out how to intro this.
So how should I say this?
How should I intro this conversation? I'm gonna do a little something different because usually I like talk about the storyline and then get your thoughts afterwards. What did you
Okay.
think about Simone and how her storyline was handled and executed in the episode?
I feel like, and I'm trying to take Homecoming out of it.
Hmm.
Just based on this episode, I feel like they made her seem, she's not the crazy ex-girlfriend, but they made her seem very preoccupied with Jordan, his life, and kind of what's going on with him. Almost like she misses him. Okay, yes, they were together for quite some time. Obviously, there's love there. They broke up. Um, but I still feel as though her heart had been drifting for a while. His heart had been
Right.
drifting for a while. Like, why are we doing this? It just seemed like a little
Drifting so much that
overdone.
there was like an almost kiss between her and
That's what
Damon.
I'm saying. I was like, you don't even really want to be with this man. Why are you so pressed?
Girl.
Like, let him move on and do whatever the heck. Like, you want to move on too. It's just that your man has, I don't know, jumped ship. That's a whole nother story. But
But the
yeah, I
bears.
feel like they made her
But the
seem very
bears.
preoccupied.
Love
Dude, she's telling him intimate details about, I'm like, I guess. I guess it's an intimate
so,
detail. I mean,
so yeah, I think that
I
they had
get it,
her
but it was a
being.
stretch.
It was just she was doing the most, and she was
Yeah, she was
doing
doing a
the
lot.
most in the sense that, again, like Keisha, and they actually had some really good lines from Keisha about this. Like, I know you're not trying to do this when you have your glass house at Bringston. You know, Layla's not responsible for Jordan's feelings, however you may feel. Like,
Yes.
they're not. Here's the major
She
kicker:
nipped
they're
that
not
like
dating.
jealous thing in the bud.
They are not dating. And
Yeah.
so I'll get into. So I too thought it was interesting, and I'll just say I thought that they had her, but again, be there. She was doing too much. But essentially, she started out this episode. One of the first glances of her we get is her noticing Jordan looking at Layla, who was talking to Clay.
Hmm.
The next time we see them, they're all at Slausson's because Keisha is waiting for Cam, and I just love it. I'm finna say these lines. Simone was just like, Layla and I are long overdue for a chat. It was like,
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not gonna sit here and like gaslight her like she's not wrong. She's not wrong. She's totally right
she's
in the
not
sense that
wrong, but also she doesn't know that she's not wrong. And I feel like that's my thing.
there was never wasn't there a conversation though between her and Jordan and she was like,
It,
it's
nothing had
Layla.
happened. Yeah. He did say that he lied to her, so that is fair. And I was totally team her when she broke up with him, and she was like,
Hmm.
"You don't even see it, XYZ." And I was just like, "You're right," because Jordan is
Right.
doing too much. Um,
Hmm.
but at that point, nothing had happened with Jordan and Layla, even though there were clearly feelings there. Nothing had happened,
Yeah.
and she basically ended that with just being like, we're growing apart, like maybe who you are and who I am don't
Hmm.
fit anymore. She broke up with him. And so here's the other reason I brought up this specific line: Layla and I are long overdue for a chat, because it's like, You was just here, honey, and you ain't have none of this smoke for Layla.
You're saying like now that Layla's not actually there, she's like acting all big and bad type of thing.
Literally.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I was so confused throughout the whole episode because um and you know what? We were talking before we started this on like what the line was where there was some like she shaded Layla a little bit and I just realized what the line was. And I'll share it in a second.
Oh,
But it it
okay.
it got me that she had all of this smoke. It's mainly to Keisha. It
Mm.
wasn't to everybody, but like to Keisha for Layla and talk about like Layla and I need to have this chat XYZ, only to get in her face and be like, "Here's your
Mute.
gift,"
Yeah.
and not say a word.
That's
And I
usually
think
how it
that
go.
is my biggest thing. Like, if you want to talk to her, if you want to ask her that question, you have a question that clearly you want to ask her the question.
Lexi said, "Come correct or don't come at all.
Come,
If you're
come.
gonna act big and bad, be big and bad.
I had to move the
Say what's
mic.
on your chest."
Say what's on your chest because it here's the line. Here's the line. You saying things to Keisha like, "Oh, I got Layla for Secret Santa." There's a bag of my leftovers somewhere. I just realized the double meaning behind that line.
Oh, dang. A double entendre insult? Is that possible? I guess so.
It was possible because I just know.
Well,
I was just like that. Honestly, that went over my head until I just reread it. I was like, "Oh."
there's the connection.
There is the connection. Um, and so she had that. She was, she had this conversation with Jordan, who was, trying to get his own little closure, maybe. Um, and he was just asking her about how things were at Brinkston, and was just like, "Oh, are you and Damon? How are you and Damon?
What
Did you
did
figure
he,
out your
yeah,
friendship?"
what did he ask her specifically?
He
Did you figure out
literally
your
said,
friendship? Is that what he said?
"Yeah, yeah, yeah." I think he said like, "Did you figure out like get your friendship back on track?" Like something along those lines. It was literally like,
Yeah.
"Did you?" And
And she
for
took it the wrong
me,
way.
she took it the wrong way. Well, and for me, that was like Jordan trying to be like, "Oh yeah, like you and Damon are together," because about to tell you that I just moved on.
Okay.
Like he was
Okay.
just like,
So you took it as the same in the same way that
yeah.
she did, like insinuating that, oh, you're with this guy, how's it going, type of thing.
Yeah, but it wasn't even like, "Oh, you're with it." Like I feel like she took it as like, "You're with Damon," which I don't think he meant it that way. I think he was just like genuinely like,
Right.
"Oh, are you and like Damon? Like we're not together and da da da. I just want to hear how you've been," but also like knowing that you've moved on because I'm about to tell you that I moved on.
Yeah, no, he's completely moved on, and that shows. Just because, like you said, I feel as though his approach was very genuine. He was really just like
Yeah,
conversational about everything, and I didn't feel as though anything had like a double meaning or he
right,
meant it as
same.
a slap in the
Yeah, I
face.
feel like he was genuinely asking, and then she walked away
Hmm.
annoyed and
And
frustrated, and
she
he was
felt
kind of just like, yeah,
hurt.
you could see that him leaving that conversation was just like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't mean it like that. But so
Right.
she went from that hurt conversation to then go talk to Layla. Um,
Hmm.
and as we said, had all this smoke, only to get in her
It was
face
news.
and be like, "Oh, I got you
And
this
here's the
record."
thing. Hold on. Let's pause for a second because you had like these super thoughtful gifts. If you feel about somebody some type of way, first of all, it is a secret Santa gift. You can get them No offense to anybody, but you could really get somebody the bottom of the barrel type of gift. These are
She alluded to
thoughtful
that, right?
gifts.
I got a bag of leftovers somewhere. That's what she alluded to.
That's what she didn't do none of that because she gave her a really thoughtful gift, the CDs and whatnot that was way she could put up in her office because and she acknowledged the fact like, you a bad bitch and
Right.
you should have this in your office. And I'm like, wow, look at the maturity. And then of course when she got her gift and it was the number 6 in the Bears, see, I thought she was mute for a particular reason. I thought she was like so touched by the gift. I'm like, wow, like this girl really showed
Me
out.
too. When I first watched this and saw that moment, I was just like, and here's the thing, Layla typically we know like Layla gives good gifts. That's been something that's a part of her character for a
Okay.
while. Um, but it was really like, and as we'll get to like Layla's end of this and Layla's storyline and everything.
Hmm.
But it was just like Simone's gift was thoughtful. Layla's gift was
Yeah.
thoughtful. Like she put thought into that.
Number 6. How am I gonna sit here and remember that you got picked number 6? I don't care enough, right? But
And just
for
her
story
charm
purposes,
bracelet, something that is like always she always has on. She's a tennis
always on her
player, has a
wrist.
tennis bracelet. Um and yeah, it gets her the number 6 because you made the tops. ain't ain't nobody else on this show acknowledging that. Ain't nobody else.
Nobody,
Nobody
because when
said
she
a
said that, I was like, I don't
word.
even know.
Literally nobody said a word about that, except for Layla. And then she's just like, and I know that the bears, and here's the kicker, I know that bears are something special between you and Shay. Now at the time when I heard, obviously we didn't know until after the fact what was
Hmm.
the bears thing, but like I know
Right.
bears are something that you and baby Shay really connect on, so I wanted you to get that, so you always have him with you.
I literally was watching this thing like I need to start taking some notes because these gifts are fantastic. Gifting is
Mature.
not my love
Right.
language. How can I be better?
Right.
And
Well,
then this
and like,
girl
and
took
again,
this
even for
nice, wholesome
Simone,
story.
and it's like
This girl took this
after the
nice.
gift, that was so thoughtful, and Layla really being like, "Wow, I actually needed this reminder." And you see, I don't know, and maybe it's because obviously like Liv, Layla, Laura, like those are my characters. I said this at the end of the last season, but like Liv has always been number one, but Layla, it's been like a 1A 1B type situation for Liv and Layla right now. And so I'm gonna defend Liv and I'm gonna defend Layla. And so I'm just like,
You really
you
got to be
see,
real hurt and petty, and like the mental gymnastics have to be
yes,
gymnasticsing for you to jump from wow, this is such a good story to wow, he over here talking behind my back and saying this and this and this and telling my private story to so and so.
literally. And then after seeing, and even again, like so, in the midst of all of the questions she had that she did not ask her face to face, the question that she had, right? And knowing that she got her this thoughtful gift, knowing that this girl is not like, she's not trying to put up a front with you, or she's not trying to be like, Layla was not trying to be fake at all, like she was her normal
No.
self, and you could tell she's a little bit different from her normal self, like she's a little bit like, I feel like she could tell that she was a little bit nervous to be around her, and she's being
Mhm.
vulnerable, being like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I really actually needed to hear that." And so I was just like, "Okay, this is the moment where it's humanized, not humanized, but you know what I mean. It's humanizing. It's like making Simone realize, like, oh yeah, like this is not just like this girl that I think Jordan's like messing with or whatever.
Right.
Like it literally is like someone that I've known, and have
Right.
talked
And that
to
I consider a
and
friend.
right, right. Right. And then go to Keisha and be like,
Yeah.
but, but to be fair, it's one of my favorite lines. But to be fair, to go to Keisha and be like, I didn't tell anyone but Jordan. And like all of his bears have been from me. He's sharing my personal stories, my private memories with her. With her.
Uh,
Like, she don't even
at the
got a
end of the
name anymore. It's
day,
just her. It's just her.
it's a toddler, a mother, and an inanimate object. Children love bears. It's not that personal.
But
Like,
also,
she could have guessed. I mean, it's not that serious.
but the other funny thing about that too is like all the bears have been from me, and I'm like, and they still are because this is not this is not baby Shay's bear. It's your bear. And it's like, again, she is right, so I don't want to like that. Honestly, she's right and wrong because they really haven't.
Hmm.
They're in the same spot. But imagine like I don't. It's like hasn't occurred to her that maybe she's wrong, and what if like it just has not occurred to her. What if I'm wrong? And what if he
Yeah.
just told her this as a friend because they've been friends their entire not best friends, they have
Hmm.
not been best friends, but they've been friends their entire life. And what if like she just asked him, what if he told Olivia who told Layla? Like, I don't know, there's so many other
Okay, I see what you're saying. It could have gone through the grapevine type of thing.
it
It
could
didn't
have gone through the
necessarily have to be a
grapevine.
one-to-one connection. Here's the
Right,
thing,
just
though.
for
I
her to
mean, yeah,
be,
she's still right, though.
she is right, but it's just like
Because
it's the fact that
she's right. That's exactly how it happened.
she doesn't I think it's just that she
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
know
no
that
other
she's
option
right.
for her.
There's no other option,
Yeah.
and this no other option is to our point. Like, you got her this thoughtful gift. Clearly, you care about her, but obviously, like, there's still these unresolved feelings and this unresolved conversation that you want to have, that you keep saying that you got the smoke for,
Hmm.
and when
But
it
then
comes
you
down
really
to it,
don't.
you don't got the smoke.
Yeah. No.
So just say it with your chest or don't say it at all.
Right.
That's
Oh,
the
that's all
energy
we
I'm
ask.
going with. But anyway, that was Simone, and it was this little sad. I feel like is melancholy. Maybe it was a melancholic moment, where she looks across the room at all of the all American people, Layla, Jordan, Spencer, Liv, and is just like the one sad last look at the room for being like bye.
You know that GIF with the little black boy? He like turns and there's like a tear.
Right.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. So it was sad because there was like a finality to that moment, but as we know, there was not actually a finality because she had a conversation with Jordan later on in the homecoming episode, and the streets are saying,
Ooh,
I'm not even gonna say what the streets are saying, but I'm gonna say this:
what
Simone
is
and
she
Layla have
saying?
not had Simone and Layla have not had a conversation yet. Clearly, we thought this conversation was gonna be in this episode, but it wasn't. So they still
Okay, yeah, that
gotta have a
boil over is
conversation.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
see it happening.
it's gonna. I have strong. I have a strong feeling it's gonna happen soon. Um, but yeah. So that was that. Speaking of Layla, though, I'm tired of Clay. I'm tired of Play-Doh.
Dang.
I do not want this storyline to extend past 4 episodes. If I'm being honest, you are
Play-Doh.
a grown man who is upset that an 18-year-old, and we won't even talk about the dynamics of that, who you hit on at prom, an 18-year-old who you hit at her high school prom. You were upset even though she told you from the jump what it was, that she did not want to be with you, and now you're talking to her, talking about you got daddy issues, and I'm still your artist. You're coming into her studio unannounced. Um, get over it, Clay.
Yeah. I can't get over the fact that you said Play-Doh. That's a great name. I like that. Play-Doh. But yeah, he pressed. He He was so petty. Oh my goodness.
You're swimming
He
with the
was
big fish. Now I'm
so
like,
petty.
let me smack you.
He's so petty. This same mess, that type of situation, is going on at House of the Dragon. I almost said House of Dragons, but you know,
Ooh, I'm watching through Game of Thrones. This is
same
an
mess.
aside. I'm watching through Game of Thrones right now so I can watch House of the Dragon.
Whew, yeah. My bad. I be retweeting and
No,
posting
no, no,
stuff.
no, no.
Just
You're
ignore
good
those.
because it's a prequel, right? So it's
Okay.
not. Yeah, yeah. And plus, I know how good
Right, right,
I'm
right.
watching it for the
Oh,
first time, but I know how it ends. But I know how it ends. I
okay.
know how it ends.
Fair
Yeah, yeah,
enough.
yeah. So you're good. You're good.
Okay, okay, okay. It's a prequel, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, there's spoilers. I don't know,
No, you're good. You're good.
kind of. Anyway,
But yeah. So what
yeah.
did you
Clay.
you just like it just reminds you of House of the Dragons and you're like you need to chill. But you're like
Yeah,
pretty
that
pretty
dynamic
much.
of what you just said of like, look, you know, you knew what this was. Don't switch up now. And some men can't take that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
same situation.
So it'll be interesting to see how she handles this. She was ranting to Liv. I very much enjoyed this scene. Ranting to Liv about Clay. Can't stand him. Wanna pop him. Liv was just like, you could stand up pretty well last summer. And she was like, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Because Layla was like, please. And they had this whole
That was really funny
conversation
though.
because quickly, quickly, she got off the Clay conversation. She was just like, "Oh, did you know that Simone is back for Christmas?"
Hot shit. Let's not talk about this anymore. Subject change.
Let me see if I can get some tea. Let me see if I can get some tea from Liv about Simone being back. Uh, and Liv was just like, "Oh wow, did Jordan just completely oblivious, right? Did Jordan see?" Well, we're still her friends, Layla. Like, bro, Layla like choking on her coffee, be like, yeah, right.
Yes.
Yes,
That was a great moment between the two of them.
it
She was just like,
was so good.
what you talking about? Who should I
Literally,
do what with?
right. And Liv goes, she's just like, oh yeah, you just need to be honest and
Like
upfront with it.
Clay,
She's like,
duh.
who?
Right.
Clay? No, because listen, I love Liv, but Liv was dumb. I'm sorry. If you can't notice, like, Layla was being a little bit too obvious in that scene, and it was like, Liv, you're like
I feel like
right
Olivia
there.
has her own mess going on. She can't
She
even see what's in
does, but
front of
it's
her.
like I don't. You're correct. You're correct, and she's had her own mess going on since last season. But it astounds me that we've gone this many episodes and not a soul, not a solitary singular soul
Has come out to say anything.
has
But they're
picked
gonna
up
find
on
out
anything.
eventually. Because
They're
I
going to
mean,
find out eventually.
they're not even hiding it. They wanted to kiss in front of the mistletoe. I was like, where is everybody? What's going on at the party?
You're
What's
like, y'all
happening?
still at a party? Did you know that,
You guys are in public,
right?
but
Right.
okay.
Which I will say this. I will say this. Two, Jordan and Layla were not doing anything visibly in front of Simone that she could see. She just felt it. She just felt
Yeah,
it.
women's intuition, you know.
Women's intuition. XGF intuition. So anyway, speaking of her speaking of Layla's boo, future boo, Jordan was cleared to play football again, but he was a little bit worried about it. We'll get into the conversation he had with Layla, but he was worried about it,
Mm.
and so he got a second opinion. Essentially, it looked like he did not like he wanted to spend more time in physical therapy, but the coach sort of just like ran and didn't really give him a voice to say like, wait, I kind of want to take more time. So what did you think about that?
That is like your typical scenario. Anytime you have a main character or a character wanting to tell somebody else something, and
That's
they
true.
just I don't listen to anything. I'm gonna say what I want to say first. It's like, oh shoot, can you guys just,
Right.
because for once in Jordan's life, for the first time, for the first time in forever,
For
he is
the first
actually heeding
time ever.
advice um,
My first
and
song of the season.
taking his time. See, you see, that's how they get you. Now they got you saying it. You said you didn't want any more arts. You lied.
I know. Listen, I was talking about the show, not for myself. Listen, the audience knows I will randomly break out into song on this podcast. Couldn't resist.
I love it. But he, for the first time, is wanting to take things slow, not rush back into sports, but to actually heed the advice of his doctors and, just be careful. And here you go, you got this coach who's like, "Oh, we don't want to hear none of that." Like, we're so happy to have you back. And I'm like, "Oh my God." Well, so one of two things is going to happen, right? Either he's going to go back out in this field and either re-injure himself, one, or two, be in this state where he doesn't trust his body fully and he doesn't play at his potential, or he's gonna have to have a sit down with his coach and be like, by the way, I'm not ready to go back out there, so figure it out.
Yeah.
And we'll depending on how it goes, we'll see the repercussions of both.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a good. Yeah, we got to revisit that when we get to predictions. But I agree. I agree. I could see all three of those options. But to your point, he did like we saw a more mature version of Jordan in the sense that when we when I first started this podcast. When we first had this conversation, Jordan was
Let me
coming
tell
out
you,
of hiding the fact that he
Jordan was a
cheated a
damn fool.
concussion. Right.
Yep,
Hiding the fact
straight
that
fool.
he was in a concussion protocol. And I thought the writers really paralleled this nicely because for the fact that Jordan essentially told no one that he was cheating this concussion protocol, and also like no one, including his wife. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Jamon
yeah.
fans. I'm sorry, Jamon fans. His wife at the time, and that was like a source of tension. We talked about this. Like that was a source of tension between the two of them, is that he did not tell her. And you see him having this like very careful, deliberate, conscious conversation with Layla about, oh, you know what? I'm cleared, but I don't know if I want to I don't know if I'm ready. And she has this
Mm-hmm.
great piece of advice about like listening to our older and wiser selves, and making a decision, and him making his decision based on how he feels like with his body. And they had that cute little moment. They had so many cute moments in this, two cute moments in this episode. He was just like, "Oh, you're starting to sound like a supportive girlfriend," and she was like, "I'm starting to sound like a supportive friend."
I thought they were low key dating. So like to find out in the episode that they weren't, I was like, oh,
Well,
okay, y'all
it
are just
lived
in
because
limbo for
look,
these six
they
weeks.
over here cheesing and smiling and choking on coffee and
Yep.
having stares across the room. So they're definitely in bliss.
Yeah.
They're definitely in
They're,
bliss. That's what I'll say.
they're done for. It's
Um,
like that tension before they get together.
yeah, it's teasing season, as Jordan put it
Mm-hmm.
last season.
Teasing,
So
teasing.
yeah, so they're talking. She's just like, yeah, I'm starting. I'm a supportive friend. She asked him if he's okay with Simone being back. She doesn't want it to be messy. Blah 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 blah. And he's just like, oh, why would it be messy though? And then it seems like this is the first time that this kiss has been brought up. He was just like, just because we had that one pretty amazing we don't talk about it kiss. So they obviously have not talked about the kiss yet.
Right.
And it's just we get this next scene with them sort of under the mistletoe, and again they talk about the kiss, and she's like, oh, the last time we kissed, and she's like, oh, the only time the only time that we kissed. And so they really have not had a conversation about where they are, but he has this moment where he's just like, oh, you know what, like I'm patient after teasing her under the mistletoe, right? She was about to kiss him. But he was just
Hmm.
like, "You're gonna have to kiss me, and I'm patient, because I'm enjoying doing whatever it is we're doing." And said
I like the
goodnight
way
and
he said it. It was cute.
left her stumped in the little doorway.
You gotta leave him wanting more, you know?
You do, you do. And he looks at. He did say you can't resist me forever, so he's gonna have some fun with this. And I was just like, Layla, stand up, stand up.
I hope whoever edits this adds like the little gifts in there at the
It's
right
me. I'll
time
edit. I'll
because
add the gift. I'll add the gift.
add that little video clip. Stand up.
Stand up, stand up.
That
It's so
that was honest. That was a great time this year.
yeah. So that was that, and then the big one. Spencer and Liv. So we did, we alluded to this earlier, but they talk
Yeah.
about Liv and Spencer's awkward situation at the beginning with Keisha, Cam, and Simone, and Coop. I wanted to add this. Coop and Spencer did have this cute moment, funny moment where Spencer was taking Coop back to the baker's house because they all live together still, and she was just like, "Oh, I've been walking myself home for ages or whatever." And you walking with me now that I live in Beverly Hills. And he was just like, well, I trust like I trust Beverly Hills more than I trust like this place or whatever. Or I no, I trust Crenshaw more than I trust like this rich
Krisha.
area. Right. And he was just like he said this line, he was just like, my place is in the hood. And I'm like, sir, you live in a beach house which looks to be like Malibu or something.
Yeah.
Talking about my place is in
Crenshaws
the
is his
hood.
roots, though.
I don't
It's his
trust Beverly Hills.
community. It's his community.
Nah. Just putting on a front. No, I'm kidding. So he was just talking to Coop about his situation with Liv, and he was just like, "Oh, I like that we're in this limbo situation because at least it's like we're still a we." Um, and
Bahamas.
then we have several scenes of Coop going to talk to Liv, which we alluded to, but she tells Liv's families stand up for each other, protect each other, and like it seems like you're doing this article and no one else matters. And if you don't want to be with Spencer, just rip the band-aid off because it's hurting the both of you. She comes later at the
Hmm.
Christmas party and she like shows a picture of them hugging, which they had. Spencer and Liv had several close moments. And Spencer and Olivia do angst so well because when he showed up
Yeah.
to the door and they had that conversation, he was like trying to invite her to the party. It was just like Spencer and Liv. Like there's just something so them about those moments, and then again on the steps when he hugs her after she gives him the gift with the laces of his like the
Hmm.
stats on his laces, which by the way was an insane gift. All like
Like again,
the girls in
even
Asher
Asher's gift,
the girls in
the pen.
Asher came through with the thoughtful, like deliberate gifts, and I was here for it.
Let
So
me
here
tell you
for it.
something. I ain't never. That I loved it. I loved all of
Me too.
them. All the
Yeah,
gifts.
loved all of them, and I feel like the stats were. I know that Live this way, but I love that the writers included that because I think a lot of fans at the end of last season had a bit of recency
Hmm.
bias and how much like Liv cares about Spencer's career. And so I love that they had her do that because I was just like, good, people can stop saying that she doesn't care about Spencer's career.
Gotcha.
And as well as it being a thoughtful gift. But yeah, so they just hugged and they missed each other and they wanted to be in each other's spaces, and we saw that from the beginning of the episode all the way throughout the episode. And so after that hug, Coop comes back up to Liv and is quoting like, "Oh, love, blah 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 blah. This is what love looks like," and doesn't get her a gift. And this is where I say that's why I can't call Coop mature because doesn't literally gets Liv nothing. but a picture.
I don't think. Well,
She got her nothing. She literally said, "Oh, I didn't know what to get you." And then,
I also think Coop is not on money. Maybe she's broke or something, and she was like,
no,
"Well,
no, she's working for
the future
Laura.
speaks with them."
Oh wait, it's an
I
unpaid internship, but still,
was
like,
gonna
it doesn't
say
even have to be. It doesn't even have to be expensive to be
she's getting
thoughtful.
paid
But
in
it was literally like
congratulations.
Coop came with this, and I said this in the trailer review. I was already on Coop's behind because I was just like, she's doing too
Mm,
much to my girl Liv. Like, she needs to mind her business, which Liv tried to tell her. And people were just like, oh no, she's just looking out for Spencer. This gift scene, I feel like she was already doing too much, but this gift scene took it to a whole nother level because then it's just like you're now essentially like harassing and humiliating her because of
mm,
this article thing. Like, you're literally like, obviously, especially that hug, like that was such a painful moment for the both of them, and you know that they're both sort of trying their best to understand where they are right now. And you
hmm.
take a picture of that moment, or just like, I didn't get you a gift. Look at it. Love is blah blah blah. And it's just like, bro, we don't. Who needs that? Like, who needs that? I just.
I I get it. I get what you're saying. I hear your point. I also agree with Coop though, just because for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy to think how Olivia and Spencer haven't spoken to each other in 6 weeks. I'm sorry.
That was
If I have a
weird.
man and I haven't 6 weeks, oh, they're like, oh, you should call her. What do you mean should call? Like you were guys were practically living together in some like instances, and to
That
find
was
out
weird.
that a month and a half, absolutely not. So
Two
like,
months.
yes, yeah, like so yes, Coop did go over the top with it, but at the same time, I was just fed up. I'm like, y'all need to communicate because what is this? This is not y'all. This
See,
is
and
stupid.
I agree, and I think that that was. I just think that that was for no, because I like completely agree with your point because that 2 months thing was
Mm.
crazy without them having talked, and literally Liv being like, "Oh, we haven't seen each other on campus," and Spencer be like, "I saw you."
Yeah, he's been, and he gonna take it to the extreme.
Like,
Been
exactly. I've
searching
been
after this
watching you.
girl, looking.
Right. He's so intense all the time. Which was why it was so funny that they were like, "Oh, you're throwing a party." Though we skipped over that, but that was also a funny bit
Mhm,
of the show. Um, so that was crazy, but I just wanted Spencer and Liv to figure out. And let me be clear, I didn't necessarily have a problem with how Coop came in the beginning. Like, what, and I feel like even Liv understood. Like, I get it, you're protective of Spencer, but I feel like once
mhm,
Liv was just like, this is our business and we're trying to deal with it, and then when you see
mhm.
them talking, like, that's your sign to like, okay, I can pull back, because then she even had
Exit
that line.
stage left.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exit stage left. Like, don't take a picture of them when they're in a clearly painful moment for the both of them, and then come and essentially like taunt Liv about that. Like
Mm.
5 minutes later or whenever it is, and I'm just like,
Mhm. I was there nodding. I was like, yup, because this is stupid.
it was, and it
But
was, but it was just
I
like,
get
I don't
it.
know. It's just like, I felt like they were already taking steps to correct their communication at that moment. And it was just like, we don't need you to continue to try to correct our communication for ourselves. Like, they were already talking, I guess is my point. You're like, nah, I'm still with Coop.
I'm still with Coop, but I guess for me, I was just like, let's speed this up. How y'all
Mm-hmm.
already dragged it out for 6 weeks. We can't do another six, so we need to figure out what the heck this is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And to be fair, they
So
figured
that's what
out.
it was for me.
They figured out no, and they did. They figured out what it was between them
They
and
figured out that they're on two different pages.
two
That's
different
what they
ones.
figured out.
Cha-
What I tell you?
This
So
girl like
what?
I want
Okay,
to
are you
stay
gonna say it?
together.
Are we? Yeah, are we here? Because I'll tell you my
Yeah,
reaction in a second.
when Liz said I want to stay together, specific, I want to break up. I was like, what?
I literally out loud, I was like, oh, like was not expecting that um, from him. But then of course he starts talking, and then you get the here's Spencer go. Of course, it's not like the it's not like the I want to break up because this just isn't working out. It's the I love you too much to hold you back, and I'm like, here we go with the
You're
Spencer.
tired of
Spencer
Spencer
can't just
speeches. That's fair. Listen, hold on. This is
Spencer
my
can't
favorite.
just act like a
You
normal
have a
teenager.
joy. You have a joy, and like your that joy dims just a little bit when you're around me.
I'm like, yo,
Here's why I
spare
like
me.
I think it was too much and I'm the Spencer speeches are a little too much, but I actually did like the not the content, but like just the theme of his thing, and he was just like, "Oh, I saw you happy and I saw you engaged, and like I think I want to give you the space." Like I would have rather but this is Spencer James we're talking about. So I would have rather he been like, "I want to give you the space," which is essentially what he said, to like pursue your dreams. But he was just like, I've been watching you on campus, and like when you told me that like you hadn't seen me in weeks, I saw you for weeks, right? And like your joy, bro. Even with Keisha and Damn Rabbit. Like it's just so it was
I get it. It's a part.
just a little bit.
It's it's a part of like the adolescent young adult. Like, oh my gosh, he loves me so much that he doesn't want to hold me back and whatnot. But I'm just like me as a person, just personally, I'm just like, oh my god, this is so unrealistic. These these ninjas, these men are not out here like this.
You can say it. You
Like,
can
can
say
we
it,
please
right?
stop? We, these niggas ain't out here like this. We need to stop lying to people. We need to stop lying to the masses. Girl, these men are fabricated. They're fictional. And this is obviously very done up. But I'm like, all right,
You
I'll
know
listen.
the
Oh, here we
cheesiest
go.
line I thought there was is when oh no, I'm
Cheesy.
just saying the cheesiest line I thought about was when Liv said, it wasn't even Spencer's speech. It was when Liv said, "This is not the end of our story." Like I was just like, oh, come on. I was just like the Spencer James speech I can excuse because that's always Spencer James, but like Liv, you don't be having cheesy lines like this. And now you talking about something like this. This is not the end of our story. Which
You
it's
know what's
not. Like we
crazy
know
though?
they're in game. We know
We
they're
know that
in
they're
game,
in
and I
game.
love that. And I love that it's not the end of our story. She's a journalist. I get it, but it still was like,
Yeah.
jeez.
It was interesting because he just gave this very heartfelt, monologue. And she's there, she's crying, and then very, very quickly she was like, I think I should go. I'm like, girl, you ain't gonna say nothing back? Like I thought
Well,
you loved
actually,
this
I
man. Like,
think I was okay with that. Only obviously because I'm Livingston, I was okay with that. No, but I feel like she was so in shock. Like she was. If he hadn't done
fair
his
enough.
little speech, like she would have been pissed.
I guess I expected more like boohoo crying. The man,
Yeah, but I
no,
think
but I
I
love you.
really think that
And
she
then
was like in shock. And
in
well,
shock.
as we talked about, like they haven't talked for 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever.
That's
And
true.
so she's just like, we're finally like talking about it, and we're finally like coming to a decision. And after all this craziness with Coop, yes, I'm still dragging Coop uh throughout the day. She's just like, yeah, like
Let
Coop is
Coop
right,
live.
whatever, we're being dumb or some whatever. And then for him to be like, oh yeah, I think we should break up, when she's just like, bro, I think she like one of the first things she's just like, I love you, I don't want to break up because I love you. But
Mm.
you and I, and you in particular, and I agreed, said something when we ended our finale review a couple months ago. And
Yeah,
that
I was like,
was,
what? Like love isn't enough or whatever.
yeah.
Is that what I have?
And you
Yeah.
like, what did I
I said,
know?
is love enough?
You're like,
You know.
that was the old me.
I I'm shocked by it, but at the same time, I think it's honestly the best decision for them to break up
Yeah, me too.
because once this story hits and this girl blows up his entire life, well, it's probably best if we broken up
I don't know.
because
They released a little synopsis that he might help her.
this man can't like
I'm done.
he's so
I'm done.
sprung, but okay.
He is. He is. He is. We love down bad men, right? Jordan being like, "You're starting to sound like a supportive girlfriend." Spencer being like, "I watched you on campus."
It's like you love it at the same time. It's like, oh my god, y'all killing me.
No, but
This
so
ain't
it will be
real.
interesting. It will be interesting to see where they go from here.
Hmm.
This is a good point to get to the predictions. Thanks for listening to Film Study and All American Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode.